Okay, this is Channel 12.
KBDI Colorado Public Television is proud to present.
This is viewer-sponsored public television serving the Front Range, KBDI TV 12, Broomfield, Colorado.
I was wondering about that, and I can't tell you exactly, but I have a guess for what inspired me, and that would be Gilligan's Island, because on Gilligan's Island, which I watched morning daytime repeats of, and know, like a lot of people my age, know that show very well. They had there were 7 castaways on an island, and so every show was those 7 doing something, but they had 2 shows where, for convoluted reasons, they ended up putting on a Shakespeare play. So they did, for example, Hamlet, and Skipper, an older fat guy, would be singing to his son, Gilligan, neither a borrower nor a lender be. Do not forget, stay out of debt. And it was fun to see those characters you know so well in their regular setting being in a different setting. And maybe that's what made me think that it might be fun for us as characters and the audience to put us in a different setting.
Well, I don't think I ever heard the Gilligan's Island explanation because I'm not sure what I've been lovey.
Yeah.
But it's a good one. No, we're all history buffs. I mean, journalism is just faster history. Everyone is an academic or loves Denver and has lived here for so long. So we all jumped on it immediately. It sounded really fun.
Yeah.
Although I'm still not sure if I'd known about the Skipper doing Shakespeare, if I would have agreed. David, watching Gilligan's Island every morning, I'm a little worried about that too.
The Time Machine show, the whole idea, really, it's a brilliant idea that came out of my laziness. We would always have a good idea to do the shows on the weeks that we didn't want to come and do a regular taping. So Christmas week and New Year's week, we could tape those in advance. We did a year in review show and a year look ahead show. It's easy to do. Well, no one wants to do a show on July 4th week. So what are we going to do July 4th week? We couldn't do any of the other themes. And as trying to solve that problem so that we could tape ahead of time and take that week off, David had the brilliant idea of what we do this. And gratefully, we had someone in Larry Patchett, our audio engineer, but really our historian, co-producer, the driving force behind all the history behind these shows. That really lit a fire for him. So the idea to take a week off, well, we worked twice as hard for 10 weeks just to get that week off, but it was well worth it. That's where it came from, so that we could get July 4th week off, and then we would use it for Thanksgiving week, and it kind of bloomed from there. It became this annual thing. So there's 13 that exist that I'm gonna call when we really got serious about it, and that would be that we did a new open and a new set and special effects and the works. There were a handful that we did with Peter that was basically we did costumes and the idea, but everything else was the normal table and there wasn't any special open. So we hadn't figured it out yet. Once we cracked the code, the 1927 show, and that's when we brought in special effects. It's black and white, new graphics, new open, new set. Everybody got involved, and that's it also became a real labor of love for everybody.
People still love storytelling. They like to hear a story, and it's better when it's true. And I think this is the ultimate storytelling when we are playing for maybe real, maybe fictional characters going back in time, but we're telling people a story about the city they live in and what it was like 10, 20, 30, 100 years earlier. And they really enjoy it. And they like it every Friday because we're telling them stories too from different viewpoints, so they also understand there's not just one way to look at it, but they get that intimacy. It's like the ultimate cocktail conversation without the cocktails.
I did theater in school through college, and actually through law school to an extent, but I'm not a great actor or anything like that. But sure, it was absolutely, it was fun. So this was for someone who has some acting skill, but not enough to do it professionally. These settings were really good, a kind of controlled thing where I think the talents of the cast matched what we were being asked to do.
I have to say, I always picked my own character and I wanted to play real people, which is a little tricky when you go through Denver history and you're looking for a woman who people might recognize the name of, that you can find enough information about for some of these years.
So pleased to meet you. I am Mrs. Horace Tabor, Augusta.
I think I rented Augusta Tabor, I believe, because I ran into Natasha, who was doing the same year at the same costume shop. My 1858 outfit, I could wear to any party. It's ready
I believe
with the bonnet.
Push this back. My bonnet has been known to drive men wild on the streets of Denver.
I can understand
I am
why.
Countess
And only the bonnet.
Katrina Murat.
They wouldn't
have
let
been
me
here
rent it.
longer
I
than
just
anyone
had to buy it, and it's not worth it, let me tell you.
Good day and welcome everyone to this meeting of the 5 Points Club. As all of you know, my name is Ernest Bollier. Will everyone please give a warm thanks to our hostess for the day, Mrs. Margaret Brown.
I'm so pleased to have you here in my lovely home, Mr. Bollier. You know, well, really, I don't need much of an introduction anymore because of some recent events. I am Nell Campbell Ross O'Brien, but all of you wonderful Denverites know me as Polly Pry, the famous reporter.
I am Miss Emily Griffith. I run the Opportunity School.
I believe that was my young Emily Griffith. I also played the old Emily Griffith.
Emily Griffith, renowned and now retired teacher and school administrator. Thanks for joining us.
I am so honored to be here.
The lovely socialite Helen Bonfils, who is a lover of the arts and also has a very close family connection to the Denver Post.
And I'm embarrassed to say, I think some of that is my own stuff. I don't know where I got that. I did have to rent that.
Our first guest tonight, Miss Helen Bonfils, publisher of the Denver Post. Good to see you, ma'am.
Good to be here. Hello, you good people of Radioland. You know, when I was last...
The fur coat was a trick in the studio. It was very hot that day.
Enjoy this city. Everyone has been so friendly. Love it. It's a great town to live in. Bobby and I are trying to bring people here. Got the girls from all 50 states now, and we all want world peace. And you are a good-looking man. You tell your co-host, Star Yelland, he's a good-looking man, too. I'm Caroline Bancroft, but everyone knows that.
The first gossip columnist in town, Molly Mayfield. In 68, I think.
Well, I don't really think I need to introduce myself to this audience. You read me all the time in the Rocky Mountain News.
But Judy Collins in 1973 was a natural.
Well, Charlie, first of all, let me thank you so much for having me back to Denver. It's a pleasure to be here.
She'd graduated from East High in 1958, and by 73, she was a big star, but not too big to show up on Channel 12.
Exactly. She would have been in the same room with Charlie Martin.
Yes.
Yeah. What I tried to do with the characters I picked were always folks who were, usually folks who had been associated with the media, because the host of the show had always had some sort of connection to either TV or radio.
Tonight, our annual look back at the events of this past year, 1968. I'm your host, Hugh Terry, General Manager of KLZ AM, FM, and of course, KLZ TV, Channel 7 on your TV dial.
So Hugh Terry was one of those. He was at KLZ TV. That was one of my favorite sources because they were one of the first TV stations in town.
First of all, we should all introduce ourselves to our newly confirmed radio audience. As they know, I am Father John Brown, president
My
of the
motivation
College of the
here,
Sacred Heart.
Father John Brown is the president at this point, the College of the Sacred Heart, which a couple years later becomes Regis College, my alma mater.
Good evening, and welcome to the October 5th, 1940 edition of Colorado Inside Out. I'm your host, Gene O'Fallon. You may recognize me as the manager of KFEL-AM.
This came with a fedora that led to a lot of autograph requests as if I was John Lovitz from League of Their Own, but the mustache worked, and it would be a short-lived mustache. It worked really well for the show. Useful in the studio, but outside the studio, not extraordinarily credible. Some folks can pull off the mustache, I can't. The clean look. Also, John Rayburn was one of the first TV personalities in Denver I remember growing up. I'm a Denver kid. I remember watching him, and of course, oh my gosh, facial hair for TV personalities for a long time would not have been approved. So to do this one had to be a clean look. Did my very best to have a little bit of a slick back hairstyle, but getting that 1960 look. Yeah, facial hair became somewhat a point of contention in my household because I was dedicated to the cause, but only 1876 would it have been appropriate for a character to have a goatee. Every other character I played either had to be clean shaven or a mustache, which, so there you go. Yes, Father John Brown had to be clean shaven. That was, while I don't mind if I'm clean shaven or not, my wife is not a big fan of the clean shaven look. It's also a little rounder. But so, yes, she was not always fond of Time Machine season because who knows what I was going to look like afterward.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our look at the news that made 1973 such an amazing year to report about and discuss.
Wait for this one. This was my first one. Charlie Martin's, this is again a personal connection. The shirt, epic, for my hairstylist. I told her, I go, I'm doing this show, it's in 1973. She's like, I have the perfect shirt. And it was absolutely epic. The gold chain, again, a very part of that. It's an old Beatles wig that is actually just the flop top there. But Charlie Martin, who may have sued if he saw this, was in real life not only a radio host with Hal, of course, on 630 KHOW, but he played trivia at Papa Rocks, which is now Lechuga's off of 36th and Tejon, right? 36th. And my dad knew him. So my dad knew Charlie Martin and Hal and Peter Boyles way back then, back in the 70s, playing trivia at Papa Rocks. So I thought it'd be kind of a fun way because I knew a little bit of that inside information. And, well, it doesn't have the curls Charlie Martin would have had. It was memorable.
He spoke at Montview Presbyterian Church, which, by the way, is my children's preschool, and he got a crowd of 2,000 inside and another 1,300 people outside.
Well, I'd say at the University of Denver protest, where 40 students did a sit-in and wouldn't leave the registrar's office.
We have been passing lots of laws to make things better. You know, you had the Watts.
You're seeing 3 different times when you get to play your father, and that was pretty cool because you had intimate knowledge of all the things he was talking about, but the look was pretty spot on. Yeah.
No, it was super fun, and he was always hoping that I would make sure he was remembered in history. And so that I created the website for his writings, and this is another of my contributions in that. And it was very fun because I saw him as a child, being this state legislator character. So it was great, and as we've seen, I was playing lots of great Democratic politicians over the time. Thomas Patterson from 1876, John Shafroth,
Democratic senator for Colorado.
Byron Rogers.
Thank you, and I want to say that as Attorney General, even though we represent state government agencies in court, we always view our real job, our real client, as being the people of Colorado.
So it was fun to put Jerry Copel in that tradition. It's one of the things everybody teaches you about acting and performance is that just like one prop or maybe a couple is enough to get the audience into that state of willing suspension of disbelief. You don't necessarily have to be, some of these shows are really perfect. I mean, the intense costuming, but even for lower budget things like some of the things we did that you're not showing here, the early Peter Boyles time machines where we're just sitting around the round table. Even then, just the glasses, the hat, things like the skinny tie, whatever you can do to help the audience, to show that you believe, makes the audience willing to believe too.
Once David discovered the program could travel through time, my colleague Larry Patchett took it from there.
The Time Machine gives us the opportunity to share often forgotten stories from Colorado's vibrant past that can provide our viewers with a different perspective on the issues we face today. It all begins with hours of microfilm research in order to uncover some of these stories. Then the talented crew of Channel 12 begin the process of designing and building period-looking sets, complete with working vintage microphones whenever possible.
They would get kicked off really by Larry Patchett, our historian, the co-producer, because he would do, and what I loved about it, very old school research. We're talking about microfiche at Denver Public Library, old school research, getting actual news articles, and would create basically a really good compendium of here's all the different issues we could possibly talk about throughout the year. Then he and I would then settle on, okay, but what are the 4 topics so that we could, well, people might reference those other things. Here's what we'll stick with the show. And it was usually kind of a year in review to let everyone kind of go where they wanted to. Then we would hand it off to the panel to know that this is the material we're working from, but then they could somewhat freelance from there at the topics. We tried to make the topics of, okay, it's focused enough where it's not just everything, but gives them a good springboard for wherever their character wants to go and whatever pieces from the year they want to bring into it. But it would start with Larry and then hand off to the panel, who did all their own work connecting what their character was going to do with the proposed topics of the show.
Are we finally done with the old cowtown image? Are we a big city now? Now, with these developments we've seen with the conflict in Vietnam and the reports from the government, do you believe that the public is going to begin to doubt what we're hearing from the government, and should they?
Are you at all worried about this rapid growth that may come crashing down at any moment here in the great state of Colorado?
Police have blamed the activists for the explosion, but Gonzalez insists that police have thrown the grenades. Judy, as you look at this, we have issues in Wounded Knee, issues here in Denver. What do you think's going on?
We'd get these huge packets from Larry of, versions of, like Dominic was saying, microfilm or microfiche from old issues of the Denver Post or the Rocky Mountain News that he'd gotten at the main branch of the Denver Public Library. And of course, we also had the responsibility to work on our costumes. So there was a lot of study beforehand, because he'd have that base of history, but then when you have a particular character, well, how's my character going to be in specific?
Well, we'd hear the year, I think, and then we would start looking to see who was around in that year you could play. And as I said, sometimes hard to find a woman you could play, but I always wanted to do a real person because the history was so interesting to look through. So sometimes it was a little tangential trying to figure out what that one person would really have thought about that incident because they weren't involved. But it was always fun. Just looking through the history, you'd have to study Denver, study the world, and then figure out how your character would play in it.
I know exactly how much air travel has improved. It's one of the few topics I really do know about.
But my kids go to Grayland. They ride a bus every day. A lot of kids who go to Grayland come from way in South Denver or the suburbs. They have a pretty long bus ride. So I think it's okay to take a bus trip to help a good education.
A year ago, Walter Chapman had his home bombed for daring to live across the color line. I tell you, if Benjamin Stapleton is elected mayor, Denver will rue the day it allowed its seal to be stolen by Benjamin Stapleton.
The legislature appointing our electors is the right thing to do. Those 3 votes will go to Rutherford Hayes.
One of the things that I think was interesting, there was never any kind of, for the cast, any group meeting. So we'd come into the shows and it would be fresh, and I would see for the first time, what Danny Newsom would be looking like. And, even if I'd heard what Patty had said, what she was going to be, I didn't really know who Molly Mayfield was in much depth. And so we just all show up. And I think that gave it a freshness of the 5 of us encountering each other for the first time while the show was filming.
Good evening, Colorado. Those bells from the fabulous Duke Ellington Orchestra mean it's time to go high atop the beautiful 5 Points Media Center in Denver, Colorado for KBDI's weekly look at the issues of our time, Colorado Inside Out, keeping our ever-watchful beady eye on Colorado politics and Colorado politicians.
We aim to treat it just like the regular show on every week, where The cameras roll and you just go. So we did the same sort of thing with, as a host, each host, whether it was Raj, myself, or Peter in the early days, would just kind of get us through the topics and follow the time. But we treated it, let's just go.
Well, hello there.
Hi, stranger.
Folks, my name is Albert Richardson. I'm a correspondent for the Boston Globe.
Evening.
May I take a seat?
Welcome. Another journalist.
Sir, I'm just asking, we have very few women in this area, so out of deference to them, if you want a cigar, just chew on it and don't smoke it.
Fair enough.
And I've been told that you and your associates would be some good people to talk to about the events that are happening here in Denver and the new state of Colorado. May I join you?
Well, sure. You're the new head of the university. You're more than welcome here. Why don't we have my other table mates here introduce themselves to you?
Good day and welcome everyone to this meeting of the 5 Points Club.
Welcome, my friends, to our weekly discussion group. This week we're going to try a little experiment with voice radio. I have a feeling this technology is really going to change the world when the Great War is over. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Radioland. Welcome to Colorado Inside Out, an hour look back on the year 1923.
Greetings, everyone out there in Radioland. Welcome to Colorado Inside Out, KBDI Radio's weekly look at the issues affecting the citizens of this fine state.
12-Tone News proudly presents KBDI Broadcasting's award-winning program, Colorado Inside Out, bringing you the city, the state, the nation, and the world. With your host, Mr. Stanley Stack.
Good evening, and welcome to the October 5th, 1940 edition of Colorado Inside Out.
Good evening and welcome to Colorado Inside Out. Our long-running radio program is now here on KBDI television, bringing you analysis of all the important events from Colorado and the world.
Good evening. I'm your host, Network Brow Furrow. Welcome to Colorado Inside Out, our weekly look at the issues of this state and beyond and how they affect you, the citizen.
And now, Colorado Inside Out.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Colorado Inside Out. Good evening, and welcome to Colorado Inside Out, the show where journalists, pundits, and activists talk about the news that has the city talking. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our look at the news that made 1973 such an amazing year to report about and discuss.
It always created a little more natural interaction like it would be, and not it wasn't staged. Everyone came with their preparation, their own research, and it all came together.
What good is fighting communism if you become totalitarian during the fight? I predict they will have fountains named after them. They will have buildings named after them.
So you probably thought it would be okay to have some Nazi sympathizers working at the University of Colorado, too. What's the difference between a communist and a Nazi? Why should either one of them be working on the state payroll?
Excuse me, the communists were our allies against the Nazis.
Well,
what's the problem now?
Well, as Harry Truman said when Hitler invaded, he said, I hope the Germans kill a lot of Russians and the Russians kill a lot of Germans. You sometimes have to be an ally with a bad guy to defeat the other bad guy, but they're all bad.
Part of the hysteria in this country.
What I think would change things is if women were finally allowed to vote. It's time for that to happen. I don't think these shenanigans would occur if women were finally allowed to vote, and it's time that happens.
Denver has only 1% of the country's population, but we've got 3% of bankruptcies, and that is terrible for our economy. And part of the major cause of that is unfair laws against consumers. Do you know that right now, if you borrow money from somebody, they can go to court, they can go and garnish your wages without you even take all of your wages from your employer, and you don't even have a chance to go into court and have a fair hearing on that to see if you really do owe the debts. So that's something that's got to be fixed, and that will help the economy too.
We think of 1967 as the summer of love, when all things seemed possible, and there were a lot of breaking down of the social mores. I wrote about it a lot. Many people having sex, that marijuana is very popular, although illegal. If the last year was the summer of love, this is the winter of our discontent. There is no question that everyone has lost faith in Washington, D.C., in the word coming out of Washington, D.C. Clearly, this is not a war that we are winning. I started my career during World War II when our goal was very clear. It was easier to give advice to the boys going off to war because you knew what they were fighting for and you knew what the people at home stood for. Now, what does our government stand for?
He's the only one of the candidates who really likes the Constitution.
Sir, about a minute left in our meeting.
Robert Speer and his big mitt. For 2 years, since Senator Hughes died, we have had one senator in the U.S. Congress because the Republicans have teamed with Speer and his Democratic machine to keep us from filling that vacancy.
10 years ago, Denver cops were stealing everything out of stores and out of houses.
I wrote about it.
I know you did, Al, so what's wrong with you? If they could steal 10 years earlier, why couldn't they throw a grenade?
It's, if you looked at that arsenal that they took out of that place, and you believe that Denver had to stage anything with what they had in there, you're kidding yourself.
You're calling him a red baiter, wasn't he right about Alger Hiss? Are you one of those deluded people who still think Alger Hiss
You know what?
wasn't a communist agent? Wasn't a Soviet spy, a
Remember
traitor?
how many more people got caught up in that? You know, how many innocent people had to suffer?
Tell me one.
Hollywood blacklist, it was ridiculous.
Oh, Richard Nixon doesn't run Hollywood. Tell me one innocent person that Richard Nixon accused.
Richard Nixon tries to scare people. You know, when you have an administration based on just scaring people, scare them this way, scare them that way, how about somebody more hopeful? You mentioned John Kennedy. What a beautiful contrast Kennedy is to Nixon.
Well, Mr. Silverman, it is a very scary world out there.
You would also think about how your character might respond depending on, although we hadn't practiced, so we didn't know, but you might have an arch conservative on when you were a hippie. So you could figure that out.
Well, the regular show where we were playing ourselves also had that. And I think people just brought that in real time, just thinking them up spontaneously. The back and forth, the witty repartee, the sly comebacks, all those kinds of things.
Well, I'm sorry to say my disgrace is sitting right at this table. The fornicator at the end. Mr. Byers, your behavior has been outrageous. I do not know what I would do if my darling Horace started fooling around with a floozy.
I perish the thought.
Phyllis Schlafly, what is her bag? I mean, my goodness, my women's group, we were just talking about this. This woman is a strange cuckoo.
The zipper, okay?
Quite
Clothing manufacturers have just this year started introducing the zipper into men's pants. And I'll tell you, for one thing, I'm very happy with that. Don't have to deal with them buttons anymore. I hope this continues.
I am going to show that because we now have our first Express, I've been making this out of my underwear. This is a beautiful flag, the first flag to celebrate the first Express from Leavenworth.
Yeah, Ms. Bancroft, I was there at that concert with the Beatles. I wrote the review for the Rocky Mountain News. I'm still recovering my hearing, but I am growing my hair in their honor.
I've been in the workforce for 25 years. I'm glad that women realize they don't have to be wearing aprons anymore. They can take them off and go in the workplace. But ladies, as evidenced at this year's Miss America pageant, keep the brassieres on. It's just a more sightly look.
I want to thank the voters in 4 counties, Denver and surrounding, for turning down that ridiculous $20 million bond issue to build the Broncos a new stadium. There is nothing wrong with Bears Stadium.
I could see people playing in Bear Stadium for years to come.
Many years.
And Kevin Flynn was always so great. He would be usually somebody in the history of Denver journalism. And he had all these very wry and cynical comments that were just cracking the rest of us up. They were, but almost so fast. It was sort of like living in Gilmore Girls, because the witty comments were coming so fast. It was challenging to keep up.
Is the city of Denver doing enough to stop bootleggers and local moonshine operations? It feels like we can get sugar moon concoctions in almost any house you want to go to.
If you give me those addresses, we'll track them down. For the good, I mean.
Of course.
And we'll get rid of the other depravities that you want to get rid of.
Of course.
I'll take care of all of them. But give us those addresses. I'll get my reporters out there right away, and we'll get to the bottom of the case, if not the barrel. As you know, most people in Denver know I'm the police reporter at the Rocky Mountain News, and I'm taking a break right now from my undercover assignment, so I hope that this doesn't air before I'm done. But I'm infiltrating the hippie movement up in Nederland and Jamestown and Gold Hill up in Boulder, and I was able to pick up one of these things, this marijuana, they call it.
And Al, you and I perhaps will have to get together after the show.
Right on, sister.
Power.
Which, by the way, reminds me, I could use a hot dog and a beer. Could you get that?
Excuse me?
Kevin Flynn should also be given an honorable mention for, he would often come up with some sort of unique thing to bring as a surprise. If you watch the 1935 show, one of the topics is the Dust Bowl. And he's like, he put a bunch of powder in his hand as if it was, makeup powder, but he snuck that on as his own special effect.
As for me, I'm out there in the field. I'm actually doing the...
My goodness.
I just got back from Genoa, out on Highway 24, and I can tell you that if these dust storms keep up the way they are, we're going to lose our rank as the highest elevation state in the Union.
I think for the 1927 show, or excuse me, 23 show, he went out and got some official coins that were from that year, so that he does, well, I don't know what it's going to be, and he flipped a coin. Okay, heads it is.
With Coolidge not running, I think we have Secretary of Commerce Herbert Hoover, a very good businessman, and we have Senator Dawes from Illinois, who's thinking of running. And so I stopped by the Denver Mint on the way over here, and I picked up a freshly minted 1927 Liberty Quarter, and I think it's a coin toss, and it would be Hoover.
Everyone brought their own special flavor and accents to it, and they'd be a surprise. But then the panel did such a great job of knowing each other that they can just react in the fly. And one of my very favorite moments, the panel reacting to one person with a surprise, is Patty's wonderful, not only impression of Ethel Merman, but singing "There's No Business Like Show Business," and the panel gets right in there with her. That was probably a highlight.
Now, no one wants to listen to us, entertainers, actresses, performers, about current events. They want to be entertained. There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Oh, yeah. That's just a taste, but I just want to keep things in perspective. I support our boys in Korea, and I hope for the best for them. And Mr. McCarthy, I'll be happy to see him go.
Isn't there one that was so awful it doesn't exist at all anymore?
It's on the. You can find it. It exists.
Oh,
I
really?
watched it last night.
Is it 68? The first.
It's the first time to 68 with Peter.
Oh, I was thinking of a different one.
Oh.
Which awful one was that one?
Yeah,
Well, it was. And this is on the internet. This is and you and Larry do the intro.
Hi there. I'm Dominic Dezzutti, and this is Larry Patchett. Together, we produce the special Time Machine episodes of Colorado Inside Out. We've been exploring Colorado's past for 10 years now. Since 2003, we have made 12 expeditions into the exciting history of our state. But time and time again, fans of these special episodes have asked, why don't you do a Colorado Inside Out in the future?
Our fans keep telling us, why don't you do something in the future? And the reason not to is because it's too indefinite, whereas the past we have something to play out.
If we try to look into the future, we're just guessing.
But we did in 2013, a 2025 segment from the future with all kinds of weird futuristic special effects.
In the year 2025, if man is still alive, no Sager and Evans.
Good evening, and welcome to Colorado Inside Out.
And by the way, Dominic, I'm loving this new internet implant. The connection's coming in great, and I can read Patty's magazine, Weed Word, just by thinking about it.
We accurately predicted that Patty's magazine had been renamed Westweed, and that the Democratic and Republican parties had been displaced by the Green Party on the far left and the Tea Party on the far right. So the remnants of the Democrats, the Republicans, the Libertarians were trying to come together to form a centrist party.
The Green Tea Party.
The impact in Colorado, that's interesting. I've been focused on the national level and am totally supporting Ben Affleck. I'm not sure what his party is, but I'm totally supporting him.
And I remember because everything was, you start off like, hey, what do you think about this issue? And people have got to take it in their own direction, but that was the hardest one to coalesce. It was just about a 5-minute bit, and Kevin Flynn ends with just kind of going kind of a Scanners moment. Well, it seems we may have actually lost our feed with Andre 28, so we'll certainly get some comments from him next week. And it's like, okay, well, what do we play with? How do we kind of go from that one? But so yeah, we didn't do the Future as a full show, and then 1968, our first trip to 1968 with Peter. That's our Tim Conway show. I love this part. Everybody, even though we didn't do all the set and the open, still dedicated themselves to a character. And Peter's character was very hard-nosed, traditional. He was an old school, probably would eventually become an Archie Bunker type of character. And Danny and Patty were playing pretty progressive women for the age. And I don't remember all the different the conversations that came up to it, but it ended up with like, I think we're talking about the pill, we're talking about birth control.
Can I just...
Yes, please. You'll have a better memory.
Danny had brought up what would become a U.S. Supreme Court case, but was working its way through the lower federal courts, a case called Eisenstadt versus Baird, where ultimately the Supreme Court said that the state cannot ban the sale of birth control to unmarried people. And so she was talking about that. And should I continue? Or
Yes, please. No, you've got it.
Okay, so she was describing that as maybe it was her best thing of the week. And Peter Boyles looks at Patty and Danny and says,
"So I guess it's like the two of you on birth control pills."
I'm not going to let you get away with that. You know, we're dealing with
which sends Patty and Danny into uncontrollable laughter. And you're not, people who have watched this show for, again, now 34 years have not seen Patty off her game. She's the ultimate professional.
I was always trying to throw curveballs, especially at Patty.
That snippet of time where Danny and Patty were not coming back from that, they were just giggling to the point of...
I'm still in trouble. Well, and it didn't help that Bob Ewigan, who was wearing his Vietnam War uniform, which did not fit.
That free love thing pretty good. When I was on the Army base, we usually had to pay as much as $20 for it out just out in Waynesville, Missouri.
And so you couldn't
it did button.
It barely. But you couldn't look at him through the whole
buttons
show.
were strained, but they held on.
And then Danny just had snot running from her nose. She was laughing so hard.
Honestly, I remember I had on granny glasses, and they must have steamed up. I had all kinds of fluids coming out of my face. I had never laughed so hard in my life.
It was bad.
You on drugs?
Not now.
The rest of you?
Yeah, so learning that lesson, we try to get a little bit more on track. So the 1968 that we did much later didn't have the same laugh track. The particular foursome you see on the screen right now, which is really a core group for the Time Machines, Patty, David, Kevin, and Danny. Patty and David were stalwarts on the regular show, and Kevin and Danny were until they got to the point where we had a rule where you got kicked off the show if you were actually part of the groups that we were talking about. So when Kevin Flynn ran and won a seat for city council, once you're part of the folks we're talking about, you can't be on the show. But he loved history and he loved the show, so this was a great way to have him back because this wasn't a conflict of interest because we're talking about issues from many years ago. Same thing with Danny. I think she got a job with the Senate Democrats, if I remember right. So again, off the regular rotation because you're part of the system, but a great way to bring them both back because they couldn't do the regular show as often. And that was nice because they both have strong histories of the show, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. And then when they weren't available or weren't able to join the regular show, we can bring them back for this one.
Everybody had a lot of on-screen time with everybody else. And this was from a time when it was the cast of four guests plus one host. The four guests at the time tended to be more stable. It was usually sort of three of the same people and then one other person who would be, and even that one other person would be one of several who would rotate through. So today's CIO, it works to bring more diverse community. I don't mean just diversity on the official quota checkmark things, but just various perspectives and backgrounds. What you get from, now I think there's probably, 15 or 20 people who are potential guests any given week. And that's really good on the one hand for a particular week's show to get different viewpoints and have it be different week to week. But the old formula was much more people who were just, by a point had dozens, maybe hundreds of hours of on-screen experience with each other. And so that made it easier for everybody to move into a new format and still go in what you call that high trust mode where you could, if somebody would be pushing it, it would be in a good way.
But it's also true when you come in here every week and there will be a different person and you're going to respond to them, so you want to listen to them and see what they're thinking. So you're doing a lot of what you would do normally, but just twisted in a way because you're responding as someone else. But you want to listen to them and respond to them.
It would shift a little bit, but there was a core team. So what we realized, and really the through line for all of this behind the scenes, and you see him in front of the scenes a couple times, is Larry Patchett. Not only the historian, the research guy, but also I would say, the caretaker of what it's supposed to be. He was always, I would say, like our authenticity person. I mean, he would find not only microphones from the era, but get them to work. It's one thing, they're props. These are not old microphones with the new one tucked inside. They're old microphones that work, which is astonishing because, well, anyway. So he and I would partner together on making sure that would be the through line through everything else. What he often did was lead the set crew. So he, along with Ken Hendricks, Julius Ames, Steven Zinn, would, and along with a cast of others, would find ways to build the sets. Now, this did not come with a large budget, so you will see a lot of recycling, but you will see a lot of creativity in that recycling. So that's where he would put most of his effort in leading that with that great team that would get very creative in here. And then I would lead with our editing team, often either Amy Larson or Heather Dalton or Simon Kubica did a few of these. But Amy and I would do a lot of that kind of, okay, the fonts, the music, because you're working with old footage, you're working, how do we put it together? Larry and I would get together on the commercials or the little ads beforehand because we always wanted to go with an ad of a company that no longer existed.
Brought to you by Packard Motor Cars, now celebrating 40 years of the quality engineering and craftsmanship required to live up to our slogan, ask the man who owns one.
He's a huge Packard fan, owns one, ask the man who owns one. We worked in a couple Studebakers.
Brought to you by Studebaker.
Different by design. The Studi is a beauty that is different by design.
We worked in, that's perfect, that's right on cue. He would discover usually what we could go with. My contribution, I think, to the 73 show was Fred Schmidt Appliances.
Crosley brings you sharp, steady pictures, full, rich tone. There's simplified control, built-in antenna, everything to provide the finest television entertainment for the whole family.
Available at Fred Schmidt Appliances.
Growing up here, I remembered how ubiquitous those ads were. But so the creative team, I would lead with editors. Larry would lead the studio team. And then when we had to do field production, Larry and I would get together with almost everybody, usually the studio folks. In 1876, we shot out at the Colorado Railroad Museum, and that was the most outside shooting that we had done really since 1858, which we did at 4 Mile Historic Park, and really a lot of fun. To go out in the field with this is really a kick. I will lean on the magic of Colorado Inside Out and really PBS 12 for the last over 40 years. It's always come down to, if someone has a good idea, sharing it, and then everybody else bringing what they can to share and accentuate that idea. The station's been that way. Colorado Inside Out on a regular Friday is that way, and the Time Machines are one of the best examples. Hey, here's an idea. What should we do with it? And then everybody comes in like this enormous potluck dinner, and suddenly it's Thanksgiving. And that's why it's worked. If Patty didn't come in with just a phenomenal impression of Ethel Merman, if Larry didn't have the background that let David find all these great pieces that really was some in-depth coverage with our topics, if our editors weren't leaning into the music that fit and the graphics that fit, if all that didn't come together, it wouldn't work. But everybody contributed.
Well, we loved it. We had so much fun doing it. We'd walk in and see the set. You couldn't believe it because we had no idea what people would look like, what the set would be. So that was fun. And I think all of Greater Denver, Colorado loved it. I mean, they watched it, they talked about it. It was fun seeing familiar faces acting really goofy, like Gilligan's Island.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we never got the ratings of, say, Broncos on Sunday afternoon.
Really?
But this has been, and Dominic would know more because there was a time when the station actually paid for ratings. But it was definitely we had a very strong core audience of a particular type of people who were really interested in public affairs. And, the same kind of people, it's sort of the same crowd as like, oh, I can't wait for 60 Minutes on Sunday night. That kind of thing, a strong Friday night show on local politics. So, state legislators, journalists, people in that greater world, we got a lot of them as their Friday night destination viewing. So I thought I think it was fun for them to see us in something different.
Well, we certainly would have done it without the accolades. It was wonderful to see everybody involved see that this was also recognized with Emmy nominations and Emmy wins. It was a big deal. A public media station of our size in this market, you're up against everybody else, and that's tough to do. So it was not like we were going to be competing in a lot of areas, but for this to do so well, of our 13 years with all the bells and whistles, 10 Emmy nominations and 5 Emmy wins, which was great. It was just this other stamp of people outside our market seeing it and going, that's pretty cool. That's different for an interview discussion program. But people in the audience responded to it. We selfishly, when we wanted something, the Fridays after Thanksgiving, we would run a full Seattle Time Machine marathon. So we would run a few episodes in a row to kind of see all the different wacky years we did, and coming up with which years we were going to run next in what order was always fun to do.
Hopefully, and hopefully even the regular weekly shows as well. That's I think it always had a unique place in television, both the historic shows and the regular ones, because there were definitely competing products on brand X stations like Channel 6. That where you'd have national people, the national ones, McLaughlin Group and things like that, where you'd have Eleanor Clift from Newsweek and some was very left, always predictably cliched left wing, and some predictably cliched right wing guy like Pat Buchanan, and they'd be arguing and over talking each other, and it's like, what is the point of this? It's not efficient use of my time. I could go to watch a Thanksgiving argument at some dysfunctional family's house instead of this. And the CIO vibe was always, you got a good chance you're going to get different points of view on this topic, but we're going to not over talk each other. We're going to treat each other appropriately. And I think that continues to be good modeling all the way. And so we did that from the early days up until the present, with only a few violations, like in our 1858 show when Cowboy Danny Newsom threatened to shoot me.
You two are a disgrace. Now, I want you both to settle down. We're the Vigilante Committee. We should be able to pull things together. I want you to say something nice about our town for this nice man from the East.
It was on, it tracked, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It was character, yeah.
I wanted to add to that because it's not just people interested in public affairs who are in it. I hear all the time from people who now say, I tune in and it's the only local news I watch, or it's where I go for the analysis because I don't get it anywhere else. And so I'm hearing a whole new generation of people saying, we are watching this all the time.
Yep.
Or I should say once a week, but they don't miss it. And now you can catch it so easily when you used to have to actually watch it when it was on.
I think people also enjoyed getting what they come to PBS 12 and Colorado Inside Out for, which is information and stories and issues about their community. You can't get that really anywhere else with an organization dedicated to it, and the show's dedicated to it. And then this brought authentic stories from the past. There are a lot of folks, folks talk about it's never been crazier than right now. Okay, right now is crazy. But if you get into some of these scripts, there's some really crazy, scary times that you realize, oh wait, Denver's been through this, Colorado's been through this. And if we got through that and we figured it out, maybe we can figure out this next one. And that was always fun for me to see our viewers react to that. Boy, I didn't know that part of my own town, my own state. That's good to know, and it provided a lot of perspective.